let's do it. Okay. Okay, so Susan, I was just kind of doing a quick little update for everyone where we're at with new policies that the city's trying to write for us, essentially to get this project done. And so they're all really in their nascent stages, which may be a little bumpy for us as we go here, but they're working really hard to kind of keep up and so that we can stay on a coordinated timeline. So I put my finished timeline in the chat for you all. It's just a PDF. Hopefully it will open for everybody, but it's kind of a good start for what we should be shooting for. And I know that I thank you so much, Claire, for jumping out in the streets with me and kind of starting to do that spreadsheet. That was really helpful to see all of your additions. Okay, here's Ellen. Just a sec.
Is the PDF still loading? I don't think it's come through
Hey,
the
Ellen.
chat yet. Hi,
Yeah.
Ellen.
Good evening. Yeah, it says it went through and I see it on this side. Let me try again. I'll just do a fresh load, see if it'll go through.
Hi from Eddie.
Oh, Eddie, hi. So sweet.
A little wit kit.
Oh, so precious. I think I hear him purring.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you do.
Oh, I do. Oh my God, that's excellent.
Mhm.
Okay, here's hi from Rupert.
Bert.
So cute. Eddie and Rupert, they probably get along good. Big purrs. Okay, folks. All right. So Ellen, I was just jumping in with folks about the update with the city and letting everyone know that we covered some more ground today in terms of the site requirements. And I was just really thankful that Claire got out there and we added a lot more stuff to the spreadsheet. And essentially, it's going to take some more time to get sites approved.
Right.
So the two major updates today were that we would separate on the application the design concept from the site. And
Right.
that gives the city and I more time to kind of develop a better list and maybe get some workarounds so that we could get more of our dream locations approved without locking ourselves into a tight situation with a very limited amount of sites. So I feel really good about that. And we can be pushing on now tonight with really finalizing the call to artists instead of worrying about the sites. And then we will maybe figure out a way to just as a group, maybe decide once we have all of our artist submissions, work with artists and decide as a group where the art should go once we have the nice finished list from the city. So I think that's a really, I was relieved because it was a lot to try to push forward. And you know, there were so many restrictions that are frustrating. And we found in the city or in the WIT, like this lack of crosswalks. I don't know if, did you notice that, Claire? It's outrageous. There's just no crosswalks. I never really thought about that, but I could only find 2 or 3 that would even be site criteria approved. And so, you know, the question
Are they on bus routes though?
They are on bus routes, which means that we can't do that. Yeah, that's a real frustrating thing, but it makes really good sense. Like when we think about the project in terms of all the layers that we have to get through, you know, the reason it can't be a place where a bus goes through is that LTD doesn't want to have to reroute the bus while we're painting the street, right? So we have these limitations upon limitations. So I think, you know, one of the asks that I had for the city today, and Ian really is going to also ask in his great way of getting stuff done, was that we have some permissibility to open up locations that are not just restricted to the local streets. So like when we think about Emily at Old Nick, she's totally passionate about having one of these artworks there, but we're hindered because Washington is labeled a blue street. So if we can have a little bit of adaptability there, that's what we're going to try for. So
Well, what about the side street that she's on?
yeah, that's fine. But then the next problem with that is that, so say we wanted to make that a crosswalk. There's no existing crosswalk painted there already. So what that means is the
We're
city,
proposing a crosswalk.
we are, right? But what the design criteria thus far had stipulated was that we would have to choose a crosswalk that was already painted. And the design had to be inside the white lines. And so when we're looking at places that don't have a painted crosswalk, those sites wouldn't be approved by the city. So then it drew a larger question of like, what do we need as a community? I can think of so many places where a crosswalk would feel so nice, as we're trucking around down there. And so if we want to, as a group, designate those really important areas, we can then take those to the city, and then they take them to traffic engineering. And then traffic engineering looks at the data and says, yes, this would be a safe asset and it would be important and it's worth maintaining. And so we have that as a possibility, but it is frustrating. It's kind of like if we think of the WIT like a coloring book, we needed crosswalks that we could color inside of. So.
And Doriandra, when you're talking about taking it to the traffic engineers at the city, are you thinking that would be a totally separate endeavor than the murals, or as part of our mural project?
Oh, and it'll definitely be part of this mural project. Yeah, that's the whole point, is to push and bend gently within the policies so that we get some more lenience. And we really
That makes sense.
Yeah, we think tank as a community where this art should be, not just where it can be. Because in the last week of working with the city and over the weekend, it was just like, well, there's not a lot of places that we can do it. So
yeah, and it's not going to be as effective if it's just where it can be, instead of like pushing for where it needs to be.
exactly. And I think too that where it could be doesn't really invite the kind of audience that we want, because where it could be is very kind of quiet and insular little neighborhood spots where suddenly we have a lot of community outreach to do with those neighbors, and it's very there, right? But I know that my hope is that it's more central. I want folks crossing the street at Blair and Taco Board to know that, like, wow, this is, and not to exclude our quiet little neighborhood hubs, but I think shooting for like more leniency is really a good plan. So
You want the most impact, is what you're saying.
yeah, exactly.
Boy,
So
there's a lot of different facets here. My goodness.
I know. Just last week, it's just been like peeling over an onion, because like the bus thing was a great example. It made sense. Well, okay, if it's a bus stop, that's why they don't want it there. But no, it was about the routes and then the maintenance issues too. It's funny because I didn't think that a crosswalk would be a problem for a city, but they consider it a monetary maintenance issue. And so they don't just readily put them places. And, when we're speaking to our community that's historically disproportionately marginalized and has issues with health equity and traffic calming, lack of, issues, it seems like it would be really important that we do add them and we do isolate the areas that we feel that we need them most. And then long after the art is gone or faded away or changed or whatnot, there will be a crosswalk there. So that's a really exciting kind of gift to give back to the WIT. So in tandem with the art. So
We're learning so much.
yeah, it's been kind of an action-packed week because it seemed like every time the criteria that comes from them, we go over, then we see another angle that has to be talked about and figured out. And then all that is kind of like more waiting. So did you guys see the schedule? Did it come through for you all in the chat? Okay. Yeah, I think this is my best guess in terms of how to, oh,
I'm not seeing it. It's
So
not coming.
so
the chat.
strange. Can you try, let me try one more time here.
Am I the only person not seeing it?
I have one.
Maybe you joined after Joriandra sent it.
Yeah, but I thought you were gonna send it again. Yeah, I joined
it now.
later.
Okay,
Put it in there again, please.
I did.
Okay, never mind. Just go ahead.
Not getting it. Oh, darn it. Let me email it to you real quick, Susan.
Is it the same thing you sent on Monday?
No,
Or is
yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was the interesting kind of site assessment,
Okay.
street classification map, but let's see here. Yeah, I just fear we won't be able to read it together if I screen share, but let's try. We can,
Weird that I'm not getting it. I don't know why.
I know, that's a bummer. Okay, let me get this out of the way. So let's see, can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so tonight our goals would be to finalize the call to artist now that we can separate that CV and site proposal apart. I think we should kind of break out into neighborhood teams, and try to begin the work of finding places that are going to have the most neighborhood and business positivity towards the project. So, like, I think that that's a major mark. And I think that will help us kind of define what areas we're going to ask the city, the big request to change their criteria. But then moving along, then Claire is so awesome helping me get this some of this dialed in. And I'm hoping that her and I can start the process for the releasing of the call to artists tomorrow or Wednesday. And we'll press that out to media, press release, the social media. And then also we're going to have access to the Urban Canvas group that way. So then that'll take us through the month of February. At that point, on that Monday, February 21st meeting, I'll kind of do a first round so we can look at stuff that's come in and get a start on it. I know that kind of changes the way, a judging review goes, but I think it's important because I do kind of anticipate a larger turnout this time, I hope. So then we'll be closing up the call to artists at the end of February. I figured the Monday, February 28th is good because then we can meet again, review everything. Then we'll add a meeting and go through a second application review. Then the first couple days in March there will be taking the winning art proposals to the city of Eugene. And then during this whole time frame, we'll be developing the list of sites. And so at that point, then us as an organization are then taking the winning artists and applying to the city for location. So it's a bit confusing to explain, but from there.
Do we honestly think that a month is enough time? Is a month enough time for people to develop proposals for streetwide murals?
It is not, Ellen. I mean, it has to be, I guess is what I'm saying. It's not my first choice, but given the constraints of how long the city needs to do these next steps and the combination of our grant timeline requirement, it has to be this tight. So It's,
It's going to be interesting to see if we get proposals.
mhm.
Well, and
I
then
think- I
artists
think the
haven't-
quantity of money, if the quantity of
Yeah.
money is mentioned, it should provide some incentive for people to work quickly.
Agreed.
well, then artists have another month to develop the final design after they've been selected. I wonder if we could put in the application description that like it's okay, or like we expect maybe just preliminary work. Like that's okay, or
Correct.
don't
Yeah,
expect like this really finalized.
exactly. Yeah,
Design.
that's because if you keep reading, that's what's really interesting is that what we choose in terms of artists and their design then has to go through 2 more sections of the city to be approved. So it is definitely about them presenting their best design concept straight out of the gate, but there's time to refine it based on site location. So these steps in here and the dates are really pushing the timeline of the city, but it's all right. This has been cleared. I cleared this with the folks there, and they feel that they can stay in this timeline, and it is kind of tight, but that's what we have to do because it's got to go to this interesting art in the right of the way review committee.
Yeah, what is the City of Eugene Art and the Right of Way Review Committee?
It's a committee that says that this design makes sense for the right of way.
Okay.
It's an
So
actual
is it
thing.
just, is it all like technical positions? Because I would advocate for us to at least have one person on that committee.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Because
Okay.
otherwise that makes me have reservations.
That's
I
great.
agree.
Yeah, that's a fabulous idea. Let me,
Is it a set thing? Do they have, I mean, like, what is the city of, because I'm a part of the, right now, part of the Percent for Art Committee, and I know there are 2 other public art committees, Betsy Wolfson and some other artists, and typically those positions are held for like quite a while, and there's kind of a review process before people are selected.
okay.
So if this is a public committee, I would hope that there's like information about it out there. I don't know. It
Great
seems like it all of
idea.
a sudden is like a new thing, and it makes me feel a little bit, I don't know, wary, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good point. Let me
And
ask.
mostly my main concern would be that there weren't other artists on that committee. That would be
Okay.
my main concern.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's brilliant to have a representative from WCAT present and part of it. Okay, thanks.
I agree with Ellen though. That's a tight turnaround, but I think we'll just do our best. We'll do our due diligence and we'll get what we get. And it's been a publicly issued proposal, so we can't be accused of favoritism or something like that. So I mean, we'll just do our best and we'll get as many calls as we can, and we'll move forward because we have other governing bodies here that are outside of even the city of Eugene. So
Indeed, yeah, we do. So once that committee does the design criteria, then it goes to the traffic engineer. And then that's where the site proposals will merge,
okay.
and he will sign off. I believe it's a he from there. Then the city gives us everything back. And then we notify our artists. The final design work begins. And then they have a very short time there to dial in the final design. And that's where they'll also submit their materials list and their anticipated number of volunteers. So then we'll meet as a group that week to review the final design. And then comes the tricky part where we have to notify everyone in a 600-foot radius.
Oh boy.
Yeah, essentially a 2-block radius, but it's not the canvassing or signature requirement that Claire had talked about before. This isn't that stressful. This is basically where pre-canvassing of neighborhoods, and what I was saying, like we break into neighborhood teams and let folks know what we're doing, would be really helpful. But all this is a simple 3x5 postcard with the finished design on it and notification of what we're doing. And then we allow 1 month there for public review. And what's really interesting though, is as an organization, WCAT has the final say. So if folks are adverse because they want the color green instead of the color purple, we have to work as a organization to respond, with respect and work through minor disagreements like that. And so once we do that for the month, then we'll be sending that proof of notification back to the city. So that'll be like, Claire and I'll say, yes, Claire mailed 300 of these postcards for this site, and Doriandra mailed 600 for this site. And so then we are just presenting proof that we have reached out to everybody. So from there, then the final approval is granted from the city. And then we quickly generate our contracts, and those get bounced from us to the city. And that is a week. That's going to go really fast. And then the city has actually begun sooner than this, but from there, the work they have to do is phenomenal, because for every site, right, they have to implement a traffic safety plan. They have to get staff to close the street. They have to arrange insurance for all of us, for all of the project, and let businesses know that are in the right of way. And so that's Cass will be working on that as we go, like higher up in our schedule. But that's an enormous task for the city right there. I mean, if this was just one mural, it would be so easy, but it's a lot more. So while that's going on, then we as a group then are going through our volunteer schedules. We're assigning folks in neighborhood groups to sites, to projects. And then painting season begins. So that'll be a solid 2 months there that we'll have until the very end of the grant timeline, which I didn't include there, but we'll be presenting our proof of concept presentation to the CDC mid-June, Thursday 16th, actually. And then at that point, if we've all survived, I propose we have a raging art walk party, and we break champagne open in not in the streets, but we we drink Martinelli's and we celebrate an incredible job well done. So yeah,
Everything looks great. It's just a whole lot.
Wow.
it really is. Yeah, it's a very ambitious project. So
There's so many places where it could get bogged down.
I know people are gonna be mad.
That's not a very optimistic outlook, but somewhat realistic, I think.
yeah,
Oh my God, then it goes back to the city, then it goes to us,
Yeah.
then it goes, oh my God.
Insurance
Insurance.
it bounced back to the city, and then back to us, and then back to the city again. I was like, oh
Oh my
no.
God.
I know.
Weeks getting wasted.
Yeah, it is a very arduous process, but I want to assure you guys that I am being assured, and very, very much, I feel very confident that our folks that we're working with, Kate, Ali, Cass, we have a stunning group of advocacy people that are in the city, and I believe that they'll really work on our behalf, and also take comfort that I generated this timeline based on step by step with the city and these groups so that they could, say, I like, we need 2 weeks. Can you commit to 2 weeks to do this step? And they would say, yes. So everybody's aware, and the city, I've given this to them. And so I think we are gonna be fine. We will probably hit some hiccups, but and at the end of the day, if we don't get all 10 done, we'll get done what we can. So that's the big view.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So my brain is stuck back on the part about notifying people within, did you say 600 feet?
Yep.
And that's 2 blocks, you said?
Yeah, it's 600 feet or a 2-block radius. It's kind of whichever is greater. So I think, walking through 1 or 2 of the,
That's a huge space.
it is.
That's those mailers you were talking about though, right?
Yep.
Just mailing to those.
By a mailer, not in person. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Is money budgeted for that out of that project?
We do not, but we'll we can find a way to budget it. It may be, because this is under the vaccine confidence projects, we may be able to allocate money that I had in the budget for similar mailers. So yeah, we'll figure that out. It's not too daunting. And again,
And
it's
Emma with her graphic.
yeah, Emma can design it. It can be really beautiful. And
Cool.
as a
Okay.
neighborhood
That's a great idea.
association,
Okay. Now, thanks. I didn't quite understand what notification meant.
yeah. I mean, I anticipate, because the card will have to say, for concerns or comments, please notify. And I'm sure that there'll be dozens and dozens of things coming in that, I'll have to
Maybe.
kind of respond to, and there may be some major opposition. And if that's the case, it's very interesting to note though, that it is on WCAT and WCC to make the final decision.
Okay.
So it's at that point, it's totally in our realm of decision making. So some judicious and,
Yeah, that's good though.
yeah, constructive conversations could be had with folks. And again, that's kind of a larger part of community engagement and outreach in terms of accomplishing our goals of vaccine confidence. It may just be the simple conversation about the importance of the project, and being protected together may suffice. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll cross that when we get there.
Well, okay, so proof of concept presentation due at the end, but the CDC is going to know what we're up to well before that, right?
Oh, they do. Yeah, I have to meet with them every month and provide updates. And we're part of a cohort group of some very interesting other folks that are in the West here. So
they'll get a sense of what the murals are going to be like well before they're constructed.
indeed, yeah.
Is it plausible that we could come up with our own proposals for where to put crosswalks as part of this?
Yes, absolutely, Ellen. Yeah, that's a great question. That is indeed possible, and I feel like we should do that as an improvement to the city.
Yeah.
Here's a question. So on some of the routes, I'm thinking about like Fifth and Blair. There is a bus that goes from Fifth onto Blair, but there's no bus that goes from 6th down Blair and takes a left on Fifth. So are the crosswalks all thought to be like all 4 crosswalks, or can they be like individual?
Interesting. Yes, they can definitely be individual.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Fifth and Blair isn't going to be available, but I just was
Right.
thinking about the parameters that you were talking about, because the area that goes, the crosswalk that's just on Fifth at Blair has no bus on it. There's it's just a bike and car place. So anyway, just
Right.
thinking out loud.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I brought to the city was, I thought of like where you live, Susan, Fifth and Tyler, right? I mean, it's a three-way. It's not a typical intersection. And so therefore that's ruled out. And because an intersection has to have 4 points. So that's frustrating because I thought, because we could kind of adopt sections of the city that way. And Susan's in charge of Fifth and Tyler in terms of talking to folks and but that's a hindrance too. So
it has to be a 4-way intersection.
Right.
So even to have a crosswalk thing done.
No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking in two things. Right. An intersection has to be 4 if we're going to paint the middle of the intersection.
That's
and then
kooky.
But a crosswalk, we don't have to have 4 crosswalks. We can just have one simple crosswalk. So for instance, I was kind of excited over by the school or Head Start, there's the only good paintable, nice white line crosswalk that I really like is there it's Grand and Clark.
Right.
And it's perfectly painted. And I was like, yes.
And that is like literally my block. Like I am in the house across from Head Start.
Okay.
That is literally my block in terms of talking to people.
Perfect.
Right.
That's
right.
So we have one site. That's fabulous. Right. And, but then it's like, well, will Head Start be amicable to that? And I think they will. So that's a great start. The other one is over on, there's one on Broadway and Jefferson, and then Van Buren and Clark, but they're the kind of crosswalk that has the stripes, which is really prohibitive, right? It's not it's these tight parallel stripes. And so I'm not sure how an artist would really.
Unless they use text.
Right.
They have to read
Like
the stripes.
calligraphy.
Let's talk about text too, because this is important for when Claire and Ellen and I tighten up the call to artists. This is weird because technically the city and all of us view speech as art, right? So we can't omit text in the design criteria, but it's interesting because we'll have to word this in the call to artists in a way that makes sense. We have to encourage minimal text so that we don't distract drivers.
Right.
So it's, you got a tail in your face.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So that becomes, kind of interesting. And then the other thing Claire and I had talked about this in the call to artists. Why don't I pull that up while we're chatting? We had talked about, do we feel that the prevalence of like a giant hypodermic needle, talking about vaccines in a place where we have great struggle of addiction and crisis is appropriate. And, I feel almost like that's why we have artists, is that they're able to interpret, unpleasant topics into palliative, lovely ways that we can rethink them. So I'm just curious what you all think about how we should word this. And if we want to really put that type of criteria in here.
Generally speaking, it's best to leave it as open-ended as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think that's kind of my feeling too.
But that may pose some problems.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you identify those problem spots and at least like make a small list of them and make sure they're in there. Like discouraged for using text or minimal text required or something along those lines.
Okay. Let's see, maybe it could be something to the effect of text. Can you all see the screen? allowed, but must not present distraction to drivers.
Or something about its overall design being too
Distraction.
like
How
text
so?
heavy or text distracting.
Okay.
Because I remember some of the crosswalks examples were like letters that were like written in bold and they're kind of 3-dimensional coming up off the crosswalk. I assume that's what they mean when they're talking about like distracting designs.
Yeah, yeah. She was explaining it today and she was like, well, if it's something that makes a person turn their head and try to assimilate what's there and then it causes an accident, that's a major distraction. So
Yeah. So designs that appear 3-dimensional would be discouraged.
there we go. I think it's up there. Yeah, here we go. That's in the city language up top there. Images that mimic traffic control devices appear 3-dimensional
Oh, okay.
or yeah, but that speech thing is really important because it's freedom of art and speech. So okay, so does anybody want to reword that or does that feel solid? Maybe Claire and I could work on that a little bit later too.
I would just say like the use of text is
Okay.
allowed.
Okay.
I don't know why I would say that, but that's just my
Okay.
brain is telling me.
No, yeah, it's great. But must not present distraction to drivers. Okay, there we go. I like that. Okay, and then do we want to say anything about vaccines, syringes, needles?
Can you answer how strict they want the messaging to be around that? Do you have answers to that?
I do not, meaning the CDC.
Yeah.
I do not. And I think it's interesting to note, I can't remember if I told you all this. I told Ian, I think. It's wild because the cohort group was talking briefly about what everybody's projects are. And they were so ephemeral. Like people are doing PSAs or they're doing a play or they're doing a radio show, right? WCATs is the most permanent and solid thing. Yeah. And it's going to be with the wit for years. So
in a way, I would say something that like, something along the lines of like, will priority may be given to projects that are like creatively exploring the concept, you know, or I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to get at?
Yep, I do. Priority will be given to
projects or ideas or concepts or whatever.
It's sort of like that silly thing that people say, tell me that you're talking about vaccines without telling me that you're talking about
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, or like maybe
Priority will be given to concepts that creatively address the issue of vaccine confidence without, you know,
explicit.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. Without the
vaccines. I like that. Or instead of priority, we could also word it as like we encourage concepts
Yeah.
that creatively address.
Okay.
It's a really tough.
Yeah.
I like what Claire said.
We
We encourage. We encourage.
Yeah.
Instead of priority.
All right. Let's Claire, can you and I do that later? And we'll keep trucking on. I wanted to really point out this thing. Claire had such a great idea about kind of giving the artist prompts. Do you want to talk about that, Claire?
It's good.
Yeah, I was thinking about how do we encourage artists to creatively address vaccine confidence without explicitly using the images of syringes. And so I was thinking maybe questions like these or one of these questions or something similar to this could help kind of spark that questioning or that creativity.
At the end of how has the pandemic brought your community together, you could put how has it also divided it, or
Mhm.
Mm. Do you want to make the edits in there on this part, Claire?
Sure.
How is it divided? Yeah, that's interesting. But again, I think this is such a neat opportunity to kind of blaze the footprint of how do we want these images to feel, you know, they're going to be a very long-term effect in the neighborhood. So how will it feel when the pandemic becomes an endemic, or you know, we don't understand the variants. I mean, now there's a subvariant of Omicron, so this thing could just keep going along, or it could fade out, you know. So what do we want to see there?
I think it's a great idea to have multiple questions for people to consider, not just, I like all of those questions. If I were doing something like this and I wanted to get my brain starting to think, the more the questions that the people that want something from me, the way that they could give me information with questions is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of those would work.
Very true. Yeah, that's great. Any that you want to add, Susan or Josh, Ellen?
You might add something about what you just said in terms of consider, I'm not going to be able to say it exactly, but consider that this will be a lasting project.
Mm-hmm.
And how would you like it to weather time or something like that?
Right. Because yeah, in some ways this is so similar to the call for our future, and that this is just like the snapshot right now, but we'll be seeing it for so long. It's
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of questions, but each artist will probably, you'll hone in on one or two of those questions with your thoughts for design.
okay. That makes
do we
me
have something simple like why did you get vaccinated?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah.
We did a simple question on the call to artists page for the yard signs.
Mm-hmm.
That was similar to that. It was, what informed your decision to be vaccinated? Or for the 20s plenty one, it was, what do safe streets mean to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. That made me remember too, one more interesting detail about, remember how they, in the first round, they said that we would have to maintain it, but we didn't have the budget. So that got sorted out too. It's interesting, in 3 years, as an organization, we'll have the opportunity to apply and find new funding to either renew them or change them. So that was really, really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
From the CDC?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, from the city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah,
It's
this is
terrifying to think that we might still be dealing with the pandemic in 3 years.
oh, it really is. Just horrible.
By then will most certainly be endemic.
Yeah.
They'll have given up, like the drug war and the whatever other endemics we're living through.
Oh, that's a scary thought. Yeah.
I had one and then I lost it. Anyway.
Well, Josh, let me make sure you're shared on this document. And if you,
Yeah, I'll think about it some more. Maybe I'll come back to it.
yeah, let me make sure I've got you on there. And let's see, I want to respect our time. We've got about little bit more time. Should we just jump into free wall? Because that's really important too. And I'm hoping that, or do you guys feel okay about jumping on, or do you want to stay focused here?
How are we releasing this tomorrow?
We won't be able to release it tomorrow, but perhaps Wednesday.
Okay, how are we releasing it Wednesday?
Oh, very good question. Yeah. So Claire will do her social media magic. And then this will go directly to the city and they'll push it out through their urban canvas.
Nice.
A lot of the known muralists that have already worked in the city will receive this.
Okay,
And then I will write a press release. So it'll go into the Eugene Weekly
okay,
and we'll have the Register Guard pick up a story or a notice of it. And I'm going to have it on KLCC as well.
okay, awesome.
Before
So
I would
sorry.
recommend KEPW.
KEPW, okay.
So do you want to, Doriandra, add like your contact info? It sounds like this will become like a PDF that we share and then artists will submit through email instead of Google form like we've done before.
Yeah, that's such a great question. Yeah, I do think it should all just go through the WCAT email, which I monitor every day. And
Can
then
you-
that,
No,
Go ahead.
no, no. I started to say, it seems like that's a lot of email. You could,
Yeah,
This
maybe
one.
we could talk about
Just-
making a Google form and then it's all in one
Okay.
place, especially
Yeah.
the photos.
yeah, you're right. That's very true. Okay, that's very true.
And
Let's
we
do
just
that.
share the link.
Yeah, you're great at building those forums. I can't stand them. I guess.
Really? Yeah, I like them. Yeah,
Okay.
I can make a Google form once we have all the finalized
Sounds
text.
great.
and
Okay,
copy.
perfect. Yeah, it is so tidy, all the responses and. Okay, perfect. And then because I guess I was thinking that from there, we're going to have to extrapolate everything out of Google Forms anyway, to then reapply to the city. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there, because we could just adapt. Let's see, how are those crossovers?
Well, from Google Forms, we can download the responses. So
That's true. And then we're going to have to just manually put them in new applications for the city. So yeah, that's a great plan. We'll go through Google Forms. Okay. All right, folks. Well, what do you think about hopping over to the free wall now?
Last week we talked briefly about like artists that could possibly be part of it. Definitely, it's a tough one. I think we identified 3 really good artists in Blaine, Jeslyn, and Isla. So I
Okay.
want to say that right away.
Okay.
I do think they are our top choices, period. But it occurred to me that after we get the urban canvas ball rolling for this one,
Mhm.
we could look closer at that and maybe identify somebody who could also fit into that realm and be a good candidate for that.
good
Because
idea.
it's going
Yeah, I
to be
was
all the
gonna
same
bring that up.
themes, you know?
I have the urban canvas artists, and there are a lot of kind of spray paint,
Mhm.
graffiti, street art artists on there.
Well,
I don't know them. I'm not, maybe you do, Josh, but
I do. I know almost all of them. But
Yeah.
regardless, I think the reticence for that crowd in general would be the vaccine confidence content.
right.
That anyways. But I think it just might require having some personal conversations.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
So I had that thought. And then of course there's also the route to take to just open it up wider, but it could have a problematic effect as well where it turned off some people. You know what I mean?
Are you talking about the free wall or the?
Yeah. Mhm. Like if we just open it up to a general call, then it might, I don't know, because the messaging itself sort of runs, in a way, it kind of runs counterintuitive to the concept of the free wall itself. Like, is complete democratic. So it would be, in my opinion, in our best interest to sort of downplay the fact that we're like putting a message on the quote unquote free wall.
But-
Not to say that I'm against it in any way. I think that's fine. But I think that like the nature of it being democratic and free, and then now we're using it for like messaging, kind of is counterintuitive. You know what I mean?
But Josh, I don't know. Is that mandatory? Because I thought that our funding. Oh, right. It is tied to the CDC grant.
There's two streams of funding for the free
Yeah.
walls. There's the neighborhood matching grant, which is proposing an artist in residency program where they will have free reign on any content or anything they feel like doing, which does fit with the messaging of the quote unquote free wall. But now that we're sort of adding a message,
Pedestal?
that sort of runs counter to it.
Okay.
So that being said, I really think it'd be in our best interest to downplay that a little bit, and then also just come up with the right artists and ask them. That's
Okay.
not to say we couldn't open it wide up. I just have I have reservations.
I kind of do too, just from an administrative point, because
Yeah.
like, we're really hands full with the mural project. So I love what you're saying about just extrapolating and personally asking. So I'm all for that. So bless you, Ellen.
Thank you.
And then just a quick update on that. The contractor is solid. All the contracts are signed. They're all on my desk. It's pure miracle. So yeah, I'm gonna meet the guy there next week, and I'm hoping Josh, you can come too.
Mm-hmm. Well done.
I'll keep you posted as soon as we get a date, but
Have you looked at some of the administrative stuff for the CDC side of this free wall portion? Does it look like it's got a lot of ins and outs on your end, like administrative wise?
honestly, I haven't even touched that part. I'm just trying to get the murals and crosswalks going.
Okay.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is those things are happening concurrently, so they're all going to have to happen at the same time.
Yeah.
It's all one grant, so that is just as big of a part, unfortunately, as the crosswalks and the
I know.
murals.
I know.
But that being said, I think my idea is that it will take a lot less administration and all that to figure it out. I think really if we just keep our eyes set on getting the right person, getting them prepped and ready to go, we could just get it done. Just do it,
Yeah, good. Good. Okay.
So is that kind of, you said you haven't looked at it a lot. Okay, so you hopefully.
Yeah,
then.
it's just been trying to go back and forth to get the city to get it built. So I think we're finally
No, yeah.
there, and it should be done by March 15th. So I'm kind of giving ourselves a little time, but in the meantime, we're going to get Susan going in the documentation aspect of it. So
Yeah.
Oh, if you go next week, let me know when that is.
I will. Yeah, thank you.
Even though we haven't put together any agreement, I'll
Yeah.
still do.
Perfect. Yeah, good. That'll be just amazing. So yeah. Okay. And then we got 3 minutes. Anybody else got anything else about free wall?
I have an update. The downtown program fund that the city of Eugene is due at the end of the week. I'm gonna apply for us again. Hopefully we'll get it. I'm not sure if you guys are all in the loop on that. It's kind of a long shot, but I'm gonna use the model of Beam, where they had like a group of artists kind of showcasing their different talents. And for Beam, it's video and digital and whatever art. For the idea that I have in mind for us would just be a simple concept like multicultural. So instead of it being video and digital, it's just multicultural. So a collection of 8 to 10 artists that are getting paid, that their artwork is representative or emblematic of specific culture. So like, just to simplify things, I thought of like a Middle Eastern person, Black African American or whatever, Latin Ags, LGBTQ, like anybody who makes art that is strongly emblematic of the culture that they live, they could fit into our little like tiny little festival or whatever it's called. So that's the basic concept.
Wow. What are the timelines on that?
The grant application is due on Friday, I believe, and then I think the programming goes down before the end of summer, so like before October, I think.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it's like a very small amount of money, but if each artist can get like $500 to showcase like their art, that would be cool. And then basically my idea is to kind of just do what Beam does, but only for multiculturalism.
So
Super
cool.
simple. And in a way, when I was reading through the application, it was the kind of the city was just like screaming for something like that. They're like, we prioritize like
Mhm.
racial equity and all the buzzwords that are like really big right now. So hopefully they'll latch onto that idea. And I've been working with Saoirse a little bit from the community market to just kind of like partner together so we can look a little stronger for our proposal, and maybe we can bring in a few sponsors or something to like just want to be a part of it. And basically it'll just be us locating the right artists and getting them set up a day or whatever ahead of time, and then enjoying the fruits of our network.
I can put any press releases on the Boop Troop Eugene page.
Yeah, for sure. First we need to get over the albatross of the city turning us down every time. We'll see.
Yeah.
So I'll try and we'll see what happens. And hopefully everybody, is cool with that.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, awesome. Quick reminder too that February 23rd, it's a Wednesday, like come out and let's do this opening night for
Oh,
Call
yeah.
for Our Future.
Cool.
Oh, okay. I think I-
Confirmed at Oakshire.
And $1 of every pint that day goes to WCAT, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Great.
Yeah, we're gonna, I'm working on some copy, so there'll be little tent tables that kind of guide folks to the booth, and word crafters will be there, creating like a little storytelling group of folks that can start, and then they'll be directed to the booth. So, yeah, anybody wants to jump in and participate, please show up, and let's just talk to our community and have a really good night, so.
I know that there will be storytelling for part of the night, but what if we also asked some musicians if they would like to perform?
Well, the thing is with the storytelling and the recordings, I think we've kind of decided between word crafters and Megan at Oakshire that it would just be a little tough, because that's actually why we went to that Wednesday, because there was no music. Music is great, but yeah, I think because it's a night of more conversation, so I think that was kind of the preference with everybody. But yeah, we're gonna get a beer holder put in the phone booth, so folks
Oh,
can
cool.
put their beer in there and then do their thing. But yeah, so I think that's it for now. Claire and I, can you and I maybe work tomorrow on the document? Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Ellen, do you want to hop in and do anything else? To feel free.
Depending on the time of day, I'm busy between 10 and 1 and between 3 and 4.
Okay.
But between I might have a little time between 1 and 3. I definitely have time at 4.
Okay. Okay, super. All right, we'll get a running start at that. And I feel like it's pretty much dialed in, but I look forward to seeing what Claire creates with the form.
Yeah.
And
Looks good.
yeah, let's see. I wish we had like more imagery from the CDC, but we really don't. We just had that banner that you were working from, Claire, or like then it's so sad. It's just vaccine syringes in different colors.
I drafted a call to artists image if you all would like to see it
Yes.
right now and give any input. I just pulled a image from the internet of a crosswalk mural
Oh, neat.
to use as the background, but maybe we could do that as the. Will you enable screen sharing? Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
neat.
This little one. And then this
Beautiful.
could be part on the application too.
That's gorgeous. That's one of those. Yeah, that's one of
And
those.
it uses the
Painting
stripe.
between the stripes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
This is ready to go whenever we are.
Beautiful. Yay.
Awesome.
I love the stuff you make for the.
Do you have the
social-
ability to give an artist credit for that image?
I think it was on like a copyright free
Mm.
space, but I'll double check because yeah, that would be important.
Uh-huh.
Looks cool. Looks great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all from me.
All right. Thank you, guys. This is so exciting. All right. Onward.
Onward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a sweet night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
all.
Later.
Okay.
Meeting you all.
Bye, Cloud. Thanks for
Bye,
joining.
Cloud.
Come back and see us again.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
All right.